The myth of frozen stoicism. Have you ever held back tears to avoid seeming weak? Tried to erase anger as if it were a system error? Or perhaps you've heard that being strong means pretending nothing affects you? Many confuse this with stoicism. Today, more than ever, the word stoic is used as a synonym for someone cold, indifferent, even emotionally numb. It has become a label for strength, but also a shield hiding unhealed wounds. But let me share a secret, and this might change the way you view this entire philosophy. Stoicism was never about repressing emotions. In fact, if you believe that, you're carrying a modern and dangerous distortion of one of the most profound philosophies in human history. Seneca, for instance, was no emotionless automaton. He wrote letters about pain, grief, fear of death, and the desperate search for serenity. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote in his journal, "How often I get angry with what happens, when I could simply accept it." Meditations, Book 8, Section 47. That isn't coldness. That's humanity. It's the daily effort to understand oneself. So why has Stoicism become a synonym for emotional suppression today? Who profits from this distorted version? What does it truly mean to be Stoic? This is where our journey begins. And perhaps, the true modern Stoic isn't the one who feels less, but the one who feels better. Because what you feel is not the problem. The problem is what you do with what you feel. To understand that, we must return to the origins. Not to the memes. Not to the self-help gurus. But to the real source, philosophy. Origins and essence of Stoicism. Picture a small colonnade in Athens. A painted porch called the Stoa Poikile. It was there that a man named Zeno of Citium began to teach something different. Not religion. Not mysticism. It was living philosophy. An art of life. We are in the 3rd century BCE, witnessing the birth of Stoicism. Zeno was a Phoenician merchant who lost everything in a shipwreck. But at rock bottom, he encountered the ideas of Socrates and decided to turn his pain into wisdom. From there, he founded a school that would produce 3 of the greatest names in ancient philosophy. Epictetus, a freed slave who taught about inner freedom. Seneca, a Roman politician writing about ethics amid power and chaos. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor striving to keep his soul intact in a brutal world. But what did this philosophy truly teach? In short, to live according to nature. But not in the sense of hugging trees. Something deeper. The Stoics taught that living well meant living in harmony with human nature, which is rational, ethical, and social. They cultivated 4 fundamental virtues. Wisdom, discerning what is within our control and what is not. Courage, facing hardships without losing clarity. Justice, acting with integrity, even when no one is watching. Temperance, finding balance between extremes. Most strikingly, they believed suffering does not come from events, but from our judgments about them. As Epictetus states in his handbook, it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. Enchiridion, Section 5. See? The Stoic does not flee from emotion. He faces it with clarity. But today, that clarity has been distorted. And instead of reason, we see repression. Instead of virtue, avoidance. Time to face the mirror of the present. The culture of self-deception. Nowadays, everyone wants to appear strong. You open Instagram, and there it is, someone looking unshakable, quoting things like, "The Stoics felt deeply." Have you ever seen an emperor cry? Not in public. Not in speeches. But alone, at night, in the silence of his room. Marcus Aurelius wrote private pages, never meant for publication, full of anguish, pain, and existential doubt. Death smiles at us all we can do is smile back. Meditations, Book 2, Section 17. This is not coldness. This is lucidity in the face of pain. And more, the courage not to pretend. The same applies to Seneca. When he lost his son, a rarely discussed event, he wrote about grief with brutal tenderness. He did not repress it. He didn't say, "I'm fine." He said what he felt. Allow yourself to weep, but do not drown in tears. Letters to Lucilius, letter 63. Even Epictetus, a former slave who lost his freedom, spoke of loss with emotional depth. He said pain is inevitable, but suffering is not. Not because he didn't feel, but because he learned to face what he felt without being consumed by it. This is vastly different from repression. The Stoics were not machines. They were conscious human beings. They knew emotion arises, but need not rule us. They knew that sadness, anger, love, and fear are part of being human. What they sought was not numbness. It was clarity. They did not flee from grief. They walked with it. They did not suppress anger. They steadied its roots. They did not deny fear. They dismantled it, like examining a trap. Because, at their core, the Stoics understood what many still do not. To feel is human. What matters is how you respond to what you feel. And that requires training. Attention. Living philosophy. But this kind of inner strength does not grow from catchy quotes. It is forged in the most overlooked battlefield, self-awareness. Philosophy is therapy for the soul. Today, when we think of therapy, we imagine offices, couches, diagnoses. But to the Stoics, true therapy was philosophy. Not as a pile of theories, but as daily practice. Gymnastics for the soul. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." Enchiridion, section 50. To him, philosophy was like a bitter medicine, painful at first, but it cures the deepest illusions. And what illusions are these? That we control everything. That we must be loved at all times. That our happiness depends on others' actions. The Stoic mission was to destroy such beliefs, and in their place, build a mind that is clearer, lighter, freer. Marcus Aurelius began his days writing to himself, as if lecturing his own soul. Today I will meet people who are ignorant, ungrateful, arrogant. But none of this will surprise me, for I have prepared myself. Meditations, Book 2, Section 1. That is emotional self-education. Philosophy acting as a mirror that doesn't lie. And here lies a forgotten truth. To live well is a skill, and it must be trained. Seneca's letters to Lucilius were, in essence, therapy sessions. In one, he writes, "It's not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it." On the shortness of life, section 1. He spoke of anxiety, procrastination, fear of death, the same struggles we face today. The difference? He faced them as symptoms of a soul not yet known. And he used philosophy not to shield himself, but to heal. And with that in mind, we see. Stoicism does not ask us to be made of stone. It invites us to become more conscious. To respond not like trained animals, but like rational beings. To feel, yes, but without being enslaved by what we feel. The modern Stoic in the mind's chaos. Today, the world is a storm. Overflowing information, constant pressure, rising anxiety, a true mental avalanche. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, 2021, depression and anxiety are now the most common illnesses globally, affecting over 300 million people. In this chaos, how can one be stoic without becoming robotic? How can we apply ancient wisdom without drowning emotionally? The answer is not to pretend we don't feel. It's to recognize the mind's chaos and learn to navigate through it. As Seneca said, the difficulty comes from what the mind creates. Accept what cannot be changed, and transform what can. Letters to Lucilius, letter 76. The modern Stoic does not ignore his emotions. He dialogues with them. He does not deny anxiety, but observes it, understands its origin, and chooses his response. Today, practices like mindfulness meditation align closely with Stoicism. Both emphasize presence, non-judgmental observation, and cultivating inner serenity. And this is supported by science. Research shows that mindfulness reduces anxiety symptoms and improves emotional well-being. Kabat-Zinn, 1994. Thus, modern Stoicism is a bridge between ancient wisdom and modern science. A powerful tool for emotional resilience amid chaos. But of course, it isn't easy. It requires discipline to remember. Not everything is under our control. Our opinions about events create our suffering. Virtue is the only true good. And more than that, it takes courage to feel, reflect, and act consciously, not from habit, but from choice. Now, we reach the most crucial point: how to put all this into daily practice. How to be truly stoic, not just use the word. How to live stoically today. Here is what matters: how to be stoic in real life, now, amid the chaos. No secrets. Just daily training, simple but powerful. First, learn to distinguish what is within your control and what is not. As Epictetus said, of what depends on us, we are masters; of what does not, we are slaves. Enchiridion, Section 1. That means focusing on your effort, your choices, and letting the rest flow. Second, cultivate awareness of your emotions, not to suppress them, but to understand them. When feeling anger, fear, or sadness, ask, what is this trying to show me? Do not deny what you feel. Acknowledge it. Learn from it. Third, practice virtue daily. Act with courage, justice, wisdom, and moderation. This transforms every challenge into a chance to grow. Lastly, write to yourself, as Marcus Aurelius did. Record your thoughts, reflect on your actions, correct what needs change. Remember, Stoicism isn't about being hard. It's about being truthful with yourself. As Seneca said, true happiness is enjoying the present, without anxious dependence on the future. Letters to Lucilius, Letter 13. Don't wait for the perfect moment to act. Start today. Now. Be the Stoic who feels, thinks, and acts with freedom, courage, and awareness. Because ultimately, the true Stoic power lies within you. The wisdom that transforms. Stoicism is not about denying what we feel. It is not about being insensitive, nor hardening the heart. It is, in fact, the oldest and most powerful invitation to look at ourselves honestly, to feel deeply, reflect clearly, and act with courage. To be stoic is to understand that true control lies within us, and how we choose to respond to the world and our emotions. It is to live with wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation, not as cold rules, but as paths to a full and resilient life. In a chaotic world, where anxiety and superficiality reign, Stoicism offers a safe harbor, the freedom of being a conscious human being. As Epictetus said, happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle: some things are within our control, and others are not. Enchiridion, Section 1. May this ancient wisdom inspire you to transform challenges into opportunities, pain into learning, and confusion into inner peace. Because in the end, Stoic philosophy is less about what the world does to you, and more about what you choose to do with the world. Did you enjoy this different perspective on Stoicism? Then hit like and share this with others who could use this ancient wisdom today.